Hello, my friends. I'm very happy to be here at 2 o'clock on Thursday. This is the first chat of the week. What a week it's been for me so far. I apologize. Some of you I know like to take your afternoon thought session according to this 2 o'clock time, and this week just wasn't to be so far. But we've got today and tomorrow, Lord willing, I'll be here to continue our tradition of meeting and connecting with each other and asking the questions of how are you and how are you doing. My name is Pastor Lou Kilgore. I am working as a pastor here in the High Mountain Presbyterian Church, which has a physical location here in Franklin Lakes and also just south of here in North Haledon. And I'm glad to welcome you here today. I'm glad to be here today. So what's happening in your life? Yeah, in my life, I have a 94-year-old father who lives about 2.5 to 3 hours from here. He lives in the heart of the farming country of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Farms and farms and farms and farms. He lives by himself and does pretty good taking care of himself, but he has a few health issues that when he sounds the alarm, I go. And I'm fortunate to be able to go, and I have a great, I think, a great relationship with my dad, and I value it. And so when, at 94, when there's need, I'm grateful to be able to just drop everything and go. So I do. And I'm grateful for your understanding in that. And many of you have joined in praying for him. I came back yesterday afternoon because the crisis that was stirred through several different changes in his physical condition have been addressed. He's got good doctors and he's able to be back on track. I did not talk to him yet today, but I know he's doing 1,000% better than he was over the weekend, which resulted in me going to be beside him and to help him when I could. So I'm back, and it's always interesting to be away unexpectedly for a couple of days and then come back and say, okay, where was I? What was I doing? What pieces can I pick up to get back under and to get back into the work that I do, both with the preschool and, again, some of you may not know, this church sponsors a low-cost preschool and child care center it's open to everyone, but we are particularly interested in creating a low-cost service that will assist single moms and single dads, single parents who are trying to go to work, not neglect their children, and really be in two places at one time. So we become the surrogate, especially for the babies, and then we're very structured education center for preschool for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and we're getting a whole new graduating class ready to move on to kindergarten this year. So we're excited about that work. We see it as a ministry of the church. We have the facilities, we own the property there, and so we can make this deal. We can make this happen to have low cost, affordable infant care, daycare, and education for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and some 5-year-olds. So I haven't asked myself in this formal of a way, how am I doing? We did launch the season of Pentecost, so Easter has closed the curtain on the Easter season, and the occurrences and the appearances and the instructions of Jesus himself have come to a close. We have received the body of Jesus' direct teaching. And now, in this season, we are under the orders of Jesus, the marching orders of Jesus, to move out as people of faith, to seek God's strength for living by faith. For living by faith. This is a way of life. I don't like it. I'm going to tell you I don't like it. I've been using those words in what I think is not a flip way. Again, talking with my dad, we were trying to think about what might happen, what's next, what's coming around the bend, and trying to make a plan to say, well, if this is what's going to happen, then we'll do this. And all those plans pretty much are just made like sandcastles on the beach when the tide is rising. Because life is like that. Life is full of bends in the road and adventures down and adventures up that you don't really see coming. You don't know. We think we know. We like to imagine that we know that tomorrow will be like today, or that if the things we think about happen, that then we know what we'll do in response. But the bigger and more base truth, my friends, is that you just don't know. And the life of faith calls us to be okay with that. To be so okay with it that we're not preoccupied by what might happen, but that instead, in a way that Buddhists really join with us in, to say, at least just be aware of what is happening, of what is going on in your life. Because when you turn there and do not let the terror and the panic of the uncertainty of tomorrow or the next hour, don't let it destroy the present moment, which has its own standing. Ever since I was a young Bible student, I was perplexed by the statement in the ancient story that after Moses had challenged Pharaoh and won the contest because of the mighty acts and the signs of God, that Pharaoh capitulated for a while. Excuse me. He told all the people who wanted to go, who wanted to be led out of slavery, who wanted to be led out of the control of the Pharaoh slave-driven life, pack your bags, get loaded up, take whatever you can. Pharaoh gave permission for them to take everything. Take it all. And so they loaded up, and they got to the city limits, and the people said, "Where are we going?" And Moses didn't know. Moses said, "We're just leaving here. We're leaving here. By God's grace and by mighty signs and wonders and powers, we're not staying here. We're not. We're moving on." And so the passage in Scripture that has come back ever since I was first in Bible class as a freshman in college was that it actually says that Moses went out. He went out. He said, "Okay, let's go." And they began to move, but Moses did not know where he was going. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And this, I think, characterizes so much of the life of faith, especially the Pentecost faith. God comes and gives the power and makes it clear that the church is to be a repository of people who love at all costs, who are willing to serve others above self, who are willing to put into practice the patterns of living that Jesus put into practice when he was walking on the earth. This is what makes our yes, we say yes to that, God promises to empower us to do that, but when we move out to go and live our lives that way, we do not know what is coming next. We don't. We don't. That's not an excuse not to make plans. It's not an excuse not to be prepared. It's not an excuse not to be ready, but it is a characterization of what life is really like. You've heard me say this earlier in the chats, accepting life on life's terms. The future is unknown to us. Don't build your life on the sand. I just remembered that sometimes the microphone doesn't work when it's in my pocket, so I hope you've been able to hear me up until now. So here we are. We're launched into this adventure of life now. We are in the season of Pentecost. We're in the season of receiving the power from outside of ourselves to live this life the way God calls us to live it. Not because we've decided to do the right thing, but because we've decided to be empowered by the right power. We've decided to be encouraged and to be strengthened by God, by God's Spirit, to be renewed, to be picked up, forgiven when we need to be forgiven, when we fail. This is not legalism. This is not law. This is not do what I tell you to do or I'm not going to be happy with you. No, it's life. It's life. I have come to bring you life, full with the recovery package for when you fail, because that's part of life. You hear all these motivational speakers talking about the fact that if you're afraid of failure, that you're not going to progress, you're not going to achieve, and that you need to look at your failures as the best learning opportunity you can have in order to spring off of the failure and go on to then do what you want to do. This is part of the pattern of life with Jesus. It's part of accepting life on life's terms. It's part of accepting that as human beings we don't know for sure. So you can't make plans and then follow through with plans that are for sure. They used to say that a successful teacher is a teacher who goes into the classroom with a very clear idea of what their lesson plans are. And also, they have more lesson plans than they know they have time for. But the essential part of being a good teacher is to be ready at any moment to abandon those plans and to then go with what happens that makes the teachable moments ready and able for you to mine for all they're worth. It's the life of faith. It's the life of living in the power of God. It's the life of Moses walking. Now, in Moses' case, there did develop some guidance. There was a cloud that he followed during the day. And at night, when it was dark, there was a pillar of fire that guided them if they had to move by night, or that reminded them that God was with them in the darkness, and the fire seemed to burn brightly for them, to give them a sense of reassurance that whether they were where God wanted them to be or not, God was with them. These are valuable ideas about how to think about your own life. How are you doing? Well, what do I compare how I'm doing with? How do I know how I'm doing? On a scale of 1 to 10, where am I? Pentecost, the readings for the season of Pentecost lead then into what's called ordinary time. And in the teaching plan, in the lesson plan of Christian faith, we have the birth, the anticipation and the birth of Jesus. We have the witness to the life of Jesus and the incredible insights that come in the season of Epiphany. And then we have the turning, Maundy turning, the Lent, which leads us to see in the light of Jesus the brokenness and the fault lines of our own lives that lead us then to the terrible days of the trial and the crucifixion of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus and the lessons of the post-resurrection in the season then of Easter and now the Pentecost season, and in the end the lessons that come from now all the way around for the rest of the year answer the question, how are we then supposed to live? In light of all this, in light of the birth, death, resurrection, and empowerment of Jesus, how are you and I supposed to live? What is supposed to characterize our lives? And so the lesson plan of the Bible takes us and leads us in different directions. It takes us to try to help us to say, well, here's an idea for how we're supposed to live. This reading will tell you some of the things that should characterize the life of faith. So I'm going to be looking at the lectionary for these chats, and I'll be bringing to our conversation some answers to those questions. What does God require of us now that all that happened, now that all that has taken place, now that we see all that we have learned and see and heard from Jesus and through the revelation of God? How is our life supposed to be lived? How are we to live with each other? How are we to live and walk in this Christian faith? How am I doing? Well, how am I doing as a Christian? Am I a follower of Christ? I told you that startling question, If Christianity was illegal, if it was illegal, would there be enough evidence to convict you in court? Would there be enough evidence that you're a Christian? And again, I'm not trying to say, like you can earn your relationship with God by doing the right things. I'm not saying that. The evidence might be something you do. It might be something you don't do. I don't know. But let's look at it. Let's look at the curriculum. Let's look at the lesson plan, if you will, for the life of a Christian in the world. Post-Easter, post-resurrection. What characterizes our life together? How then are we supposed to live? So, I hope that this day, this Thursday, this beautiful day, which is leading into Memorial Day weekend, and I think it's going to be very rainy, but I hope this day finds you doing well. I appreciate your prayers for my dad and for me in the time that I've been away. I am coming up to a time where I myself am going to go in for a surgical procedure that I need to have done, and it will result again in me not being here to do these chats. Please don't lose heart. I'll be back. I fully intend to reincorporate and keep these as a regular part of our life and a way of keeping contact. You may not be able to tune in every week, every day. I understand that, but when you can tune in, I hope you'll tune in and you'll find one for the day you're looking for, or one that just took place yesterday or the day before that. God bless you, my friends. I really, really pray that God is blessing you and keeping you in this time as we walk together, seeking to live in the light of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I'll see you tomorrow, my friends. What they used to say, same time, same place. God bless you.